In an industry dominated by men, Judy Walden Scarafile has risen to the top. Scarafile spent 45 years of her career working with the Cape Cod Baseball League. She started out as a scorekeeper with the league in the early 70s and became the first female president of the league in 1991. After serving for 24 years in that role, Scarafile recently announced plans to retire her position, making the 2015 summer season her last as president of the Cape Cod Baseball League. You just made a big announcement after 45 years with the league. You are actually going to retire.
I am going to retire, and it was a tough decision, but I'm really excited about whatever the future holds, and let's bring on the next generation for the Cape League.
Well, really excited too to talk about your career with the Cape League. When you began working with the Cape League, what were you doing at first?
I was an official scorekeeper, and I was brought into the Cape League by Dick Bresciani, may he rest in peace, longtime scorekeeper and director of public relations and statistics with the league, and then he went on to an illustrious career with the Red Sox for 42 years.
Wow. What made you want to get involved with the Cape League? Did you have a passion for baseball and for sports, or was it just something to do?
It was more than just something to do. I did have a passion that started in high school, and I actually played softball when I was younger, and I was absolutely dreadful. So I decided the best way to go into the sports field would be through the writing route, and that's what I did in high school. And then in college, I did the same thing, and I had an opportunity to write for the college newspaper, which at UConn was a daily newspaper, which was unusual in the 60s and 70s. So I learned how to score, and I had the opportunity to be asked to come to the Cape League as an official scorer. We were paid $15 a game, and with that came sort of a dual role that you were responsible to the Boston media, so you had to call in. There was no emailing at that point. Call in the scores and then write the story for the Cape Cod Times.
Wow.
So I became a stringer for the Cape Cod Times in 1970 and actually stayed on as a stringer for 25 to 30 years at the Times.
So your passion must have grown as you became involved with the Cape League as well. I mean, this is a really special league here. Talk to me about what made you stay so long and how your career progressed over the years.
Well, I started just coming in the summer, and then Peter and I got married here in '74, and we stayed put. And when you live here, and as you know, it's easy to get involved in things in the wintertime. There's so many organizations. People who think that the Cape is boring in the off-season, I really need to have a sit-down chat with them, because there are, 990 nonprofits? Anyway, I just got more involved because I lived here, so then I became the director of public relations and vice president, secretary, deputy commissioner, and then one day in 1991, I was nominated from the floor in a pretty wild meeting. I guess I would just say that. It was a pretty wild meeting. This wasn't part of a master plan to become president. I was happy doing what I was doing, but I've been very happy being president for 24 years.
Well, I know it's been such a fun ride for you, and a lot of people have talked about all of the things you've accomplished. What do you think are some of your biggest accomplishments while serving as president for the league?
Well, I think the first thing I have to say is it's not me alone. You know, we have 200 volunteers, and we're all doing the same. We're all doing it together. It's all teamwork. I know it sounds corny, but it is teamwork. There's no way I did these things by myself. I just happen to be the person with a title. We've established a Hall of Fame. We've done so much in terms of public relations and our relationship with Major League Baseball. We have a fleet of buses we hire for a safe transportation project. Believe it or not, our players used to drive to games, which was insane, but we were lucky. Now we have the fleet of buses. The list goes on and on and on, but it really is the work of all the volunteers together, not just one person.
Is it tough finding volunteers to help? Because I know this is an all-volunteer organization. Most people are not paid.
No one's
paid. They volunteer their services.
100% volunteers.
Wow, pretty impressive. Is it tough to get volunteers to work with the Cape League and keep it going and keep it as strong of an organization as it is?
Well, the way we're structured is we are 11 separate 501c3s, which is somewhat unusual, but if you look at the model of Major League Baseball, the league, which would be the officers, represents the umbrella like MLB, and then the teams underneath it are similar to the structure at MLB. So each one of those teams has its own board of directors, their own volunteers, their own officers. They go out and they bring in their field manager, their general manager. Together, those two people work at recruiting the team. Then there's the host family coordinator, a job coordinator, clinic coordinator, merchandise, fundraising. So that's one pocket for one team. So you have 10 teams doing that, and then you have the volunteers on the league level.
Pretty amazing that all of those pieces can be put in place. It must take a lot of work, like you said, the whole year round, not just before the summer or in the springtime.
Oh my goodness, it is year round. Paul Gallup and his scheduling committee will start right away with working on the schedule for 2016. There is so much work to do in the off season that many of us have said through the years, I can't wait for the season to start, because it's a little bit of a break, but then you shift into a different amount of work and a different kind of work, which is, enjoyable. This is what, although the geese are not what we work for, but bringing the players and the quality of the product here is really what we strive for. And being that stepping stone to professional baseball is very important to us.
Looking back over your career with the Cape League, are there any highlights that really stick out, or any great memories you'd like to share with us?
Oh, there are a lot. It would really be hard to identify them. I think when I was a scorekeeper, I had the opportunity to get to know the players, because they would come up and argue with me about a hit or an error. And then as I became an officer, and certainly as I became president, I really didn't have that opportunity to meet the players. It didn't make any sense for me to walk in the dugout, introduce myself and say I'm the president. Big deal, who cares? So a highlight certainly was getting to know the players in the early part of my baseball career. But the people I've met through the 45 years, especially the scouts, have been longtime friends, and we just lost 6 people in 7 months in our league family, and it's really been devastating. But I'm so blessed to have known those people and had them be my mentors.
Yeah, such a cool thing. As you progressed in your career, being female, did that change things for you at all?
It did, and there were times I was unaware that the gender should be an issue. And there were times that it was right in my face. My first year in the league, when we went to Yankee Stadium and we had our all-star game, the Cape Cod Baseball League versus the Atlanta Collegiate League from New York, I sat in the press box at Yankee Stadium and I was physically removed. There were 50 seats in the press box. I was taking up one. There might have been 2 other people in the press box. It wasn't like I was taking a seat from someone else. There had never been a woman in the press box before. This isn't even a major league game. What is the deal here? 1970, I was removed. Guy put his hand on my arm and said, "You can't stay here. I have to escort you out."
Wow, well, we've come such a
We have come a long way.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness we've come a long way since then. And it warms my heart to see that the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame has an exhibit highlighting women within the sport, and you are part of that exhibit. Was that a really good feeling for you when that happened?
I don't think I've ever been more shocked in my life. I had gone to Cooperstown with some trustees from the Yawkey Foundation, which isn't unusual because we sometimes have a meeting there, and we did a little bit of a tour, and the display about me was unveiled, and I didn't get it. I thought it was a joke. And then finally, Jim Healy, who's the president of the Yawkey Foundation, said, "Judy, this isn't a joke. They don't do jokes at Cooperstown." Anyway, and there I was. I was just totally stunned. I don't think I've ever been more surprised in my life. And humbled. You don't even know what to say.
Well, I know, too, the community here is so grateful for all you've done with the Cape Cod Baseball League. You're also featured, and you've been inducted into the Cape Cod Baseball League Hall of Fame. that must have been a cool thing as well, just to have your work be honored and recognized in the Cape Cod Baseball League Hall of Fame.
It was an honor. Again, humbling, absolutely, and hopefully, you know, that I hope that day that I represented women in baseball, because that was my purpose. That this is really, it's about the work that we 200 volunteers do in the Cape League, but it's also about, you know, a woman breaking into a man's world, which wasn't really the goal when I started, but it keeps popping up every now and then.
Well, and I think, like you said a little earlier, you may not have even thought about it before you hit the roadblocks that happened because of your gender.
Yeah, I just thought people were judged by the job they did. I didn't think that gender entered into anything, because I didn't have any roadblocks at UConn. So when I came to that Cape League and had no roadblocks on the Cape League, then I hit this thing at Yankee Stadium. I'm like, what on earth is going on?
Well, what advice do you have for a woman who is wanting to follow in your footsteps and enter the industry of baseball and look to that as a career? What advice would you give that person?
Do the best job you can do. Work harder than you might have to in another job. Don't give up, and have tough skin.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us
Thank
today.
you, Sarah.
I really appreciate it. And congratulations,
Thank
and
you.
enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Judy Walden Scarafile is the president of the Cape Cod Baseball League. For Barnstable This Morning, I'm Sarah Mannel.